Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm going to give it a minute or two just to let people flow into the Zoom, and then we'll go ahead and get started. In the meantime, as everyone's making their way in, if you all wouldn't mind just going into the chat, and maybe introducing yourself, if you'd like to say your name, where you're coming from, zooming in from tonight, that'd be awesome. Give it another minute or so. And again, if you'd like to introduce yourself in the chat, please feel free. If you want to say your name and where you're zooming in from. Okay. I think we can go ahead and get started. So we'll just start out with some quick introductions. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Gabrielle Viome. You can call me Gabby. I'm one of our assistant directors of admission here at Skidmore College. I am a Skidmore alum. I graduated with the class of 2021, so a few years ago. And I'm originally from the Saratoga Springs area where Skidmore is located in upstate New York. I do have two lovely current head tour guides with us this evening, Fiona and Melanie. I'd love for both of you to introduce yourselves if you don't mind. Fiona, you want to start?
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Fiona. I'm a junior studying neuroscience. I'm originally from Salem, Massachusetts, and outside of admissions and academics, I'm also really involved in our outdoors scene, so outing clubs, skiing, running. I also am in an all-female a cappella group called The Accents, and I do research into psych and neuro labs.
Awesome.
Hi everyone, my name's Melanie. I'm a senior here at Skidmore. I use she, her pronouns from Long Island, New York. I study psychology and social work as a double major. I've done research in the psychology, social work, and religious studies departments during my time here. This year, I'm co-president of Skidmore's chapter of Psych High, which is a national honor society for psychology. And last semester, I was abroad in Copenhagen, Denmark.
Awesome. Thank you both. I also realized that the chat was disabled. I think I just made it so you can all type now and send that if you'd still like to. But we can just go ahead and jump right into things in the meantime. So we'll kind of just start off with a quick overview of Skidmore, just to kind of go through the basics and some general information about us, just to set some groundwork. We will talk a bit in depth about academics, programs that we offer, study abroad, internships, research opportunities as well. We'll touch a little bit on life outside the classroom, Saratoga Springs, New York, where we're located. And of course, we'll also wrap up with our admissions process and some information on financial aid as well. And if you have any questions at any point, feel free to put those either in the Q&A or the chat, and we will try to answer them as quickly as we can. But just to go ahead and get started, Skidmore College is a small private liberal arts college. We make up about 2,700 undergraduate students total. We are strictly undergrad, so we do not have graduate master's programs, anything like that. So all focus and opportunities are given to all of our undergraduate students across the board in our different areas of academic study. Since we are a bit on the smaller side, just in terms of total number of students, that does mean our average class size tends to be a bit smaller as well. So average class size here at Skidmore is about 16 students, with our student to faculty ratio being 8-1. I do like to mention and emphasize those small class sizes just because our students are really able to connect with their professors and build those relationships over the course of those 4 years at Skidmore. You're definitely going to be a name, not a number type of vibe in the classroom. Your professors know who you are. They'll notice if you're not in class and check in and see how you're doing. All of our professors have open office hours. If you ever just want to pop in, say hi, chat about your day, they're going to be there for you on that personal level, but of course on that academic level as well. So I do like to mention the small class sizes and the relationships you're really able to build with our professors here. In terms of academic programs, we are very well known for our programs in the visual and performing arts. So we offer majors and minors in music, dance, theater, studio art, and art history. We also offer additional minors in media and film studies, as well as arts administration, which is like a combination of the arts with management and business. If the arts aren't your thing, though, that is totally okay, I promise. On the other end of things, we're also pretty well known for our programs in the sciences. So we do have 10 different math and science programs total, with about a third of our students either majoring or minoring in one of those 10 different math or science areas. And those are really growing for us every year. So because of that, we actually recently finished our new science center on campus called the Billy Tisch Center for Integrated Sciences. Absolutely beautiful space. Melanie is zooming in from the lobby currently. So that's been a really exciting new addition for us as our science departments have really been expanding over the past multiple years. So again, big in the arts, sciences, and truly everything in between, humanities, social sciences, etc. All of this being said, though, management and business is actually our most popular major here at Skidmore, which I definitely think is pretty unique for a small liberal arts college, having business be the most popular major. It's a very, very strong program for us, Bachelor of Science degree. English is always typically up there in terms of popularity as well, along with psychology, biology, studio art, political science, as well as environmental sciences and studies. So pretty wide range that we have going on up there in terms of our more popular programs. And I really just think that's because our students here at Skidmore have so many different interests and they like to explore different things, dip their toes in different areas of study. So about 2/3 of our students will actually end up doing a double major or a major minor combination in any different areas, often actually combining the arts and the sciences, totally not uncommon if you see a student doing a double major in dance and chemistry. Sure. When I was a student, I did a double major in English and music. So truly anything works for us academically speaking here. Awesome. So, still talking about academics, I do like to go a little bit into our all college requirements that we have here at Skidmore. You can kind of think of the all college requirements as like those core subject areas, right? So we like for our students to be well-rounded and take classes in all different areas of study and explore different things. The all college requirements are going to look a little bit different for every single Skidmore student, just in terms of how and when they fulfill those requirements. Some of the requirements you'll do within your first 2 years at Skidmore, others you can spread throughout the 4 years. It's really kind of just dependent on the classes that you take. You can also double dip in the requirements. So one class you might take could count for multiple requirements. And classes you'll be taking for your majors and minors will also likely count toward some of these requirements as well. So definitely nothing to stress out about by any means. Again, we just like for our students to be well-rounded. But the main one that we're going to go over now is the Scribner Seminar. So the Scribner Seminar is our version of a first-year seminar course. All students have to take a Scribner Seminar their very first fall semester of their first year. The Scribner seminars are very interdisciplinary in nature. So again, kind of going back to dipping into all different areas of study and combining that into one class. So they're typically really interesting, a little quirky sometimes, a little bit out there. I almost kind of like to say the Scribner seminars are basically like passion projects for professors that choose to teach a seminar because it's often outside of what they might normally teach on campus at Skidmore. So super interesting topics. How selection for the course will work. The summer before you'd arrive, you'd be given a list of about 45 different seminars to choose from. You'd rank your top 10 that sound the most interesting to you, and you'll most likely be placed into one of your top 3 choices for a Scribner seminar. Your professor for that seminar will also act as your academic advisor up until you declare your major. You do not have to declare a major until the end of your sophomore year at Skidmore. So you really kind of get those first 2 years to kind of just figure things out a little bit, take classes that sound interesting to you, and your professor/advisor from your Scribner seminar will help you with that process, which is really great. The final piece I'll say about the seminar before I turn it over to Fiona and Melanie is the peer mentor aspect, which is my favorite part about the seminar. So, the peer mentor is an upperclassman student chosen by the professor teaching any given seminar. I kind of like to say your peer mentor is almost like your assigned friend when you first get to Skidmore. They're kind of there to just give you the upperclassman perspective on how things work. Maybe you don't know where health services is located on campus, or maybe they've picked up on some good study tips and tricks throughout the past couple of years. It's kind of just nice to have that upperclassman to be that extra support for you and help with that transition from high school into college and just make sure that you feel settled. Melanie and Fiona, I'd love for both of you to talk a little bit about your Scribner seminar. Melanie, do you want to start?
I took my Scribner seminar 3 years ago at this point, but mine was called Mapping the Social World. It was taught by a sociology professor, and we looked at map making in pretty much every sense of the word. So we started with mental maps, and then we kind of progressed into the components of a map, drawing maps to scale, using the Geographic Information Systems Lab in the library, which is a really great resource that we have for a lot of our like geoscience students, environmental science students, sociology, even like economics will use it, poli sci will use it, anyone who needs to make a map. And so that was really interesting to use. And we used that to like map different data points that we collected on campus. So everyone had like a different little project. Some people were like, these are where I saw like the fattest squirrels. This is places to sit, things like that. And we also like learned about sourcing through the cholera outbreak, which is really interesting. But it also set me up really well, like foundationally, like in terms of like my social foundations, right? So like you travel through orientation programming, whether or not you choose to do a pre-orientation programming, everyone will do an orientation here at Skidmore, and you do that with your Scribner seminar. That peer mentor serves as like your orientation leader, and then that group is your orientation group. So it's usually like the first big group of students that you're meeting, and that's where I made my first friend. And then I had buddies in the class to sit next to because everyone has this like same vested interest in the topic because you rank your top 10 choices and usually you're placed in one of your top 3 choices. So I found that to be really helpful with the structure, not just academically, but also socially.
My seminar was called Can Literature Save the Environment, which was super cool, taught by an English professor. He was so sweet. We always used to say he looked like John Muir, and we were all reading about John Muir. So he was like a big like mountainy guy, and we were reading obviously the works of John Muir, watching documentaries like Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, as well as reading fun books like The Lorax. So just like all types of media, and then like considering like how does this sway the public's opinion on like the environmental crisis or even understanding what's going on in the world. So that was super interesting, and also it like culminated with a big paper of you answering that question: Can literature save the environment? Yay or nay, with like qualifying terms. I met two of my best friends that I still obviously am super close with in that class. Our peer mentor was fantastic. Just again, to emphasize what they said, like a super welcoming environment, like just really easing that transition into Skidmore. Yeah, it was just a great experience.
Awesome. Thank you both. Yeah, so I mean, in a nutshell, the seminar is a very big part of the first year experience here at Skidmore. And again, it really acts as a nice transitional class, I like to say, from high school to college level academics, because you're not just learning the content of the seminar itself, but you're also learning how to write a college paper and how to properly cite your work, which definitely will come in handy for other classes beyond your Scribner seminar. Outside of the seminar, I do just quickly like to run through the other all college requirements as well, just to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. So we do have expository writing, which is basically just your intro to college writing course. You would take that within your first 2 years at Skidmore. We do have quantitative reasoning courses, 1 and 2, so like your math-based courses. We have a natural science with a lab requirement, humanities, fine arts, 1 semester of a language, a global requirement, the bridge experience, which you would do either your sophomore or your junior year. That class would focus on power and justice within the United States. And then you'll have your senior coda experience, which of course you save till senior year. That's going to look a little bit different depending on your academic department. Some departments you are going to write a thesis. Other departments you have the choice if you would like to pursue a thesis, or if you'd rather take a senior seminar course with a capstone component, or if you want to take a more creative route and do a senior project of some kind. Again, it kind of just depends on your department what they require for that. Awesome. And again, if you have any questions at any point, feel free to either put those in the chat or in the Q&A. We know that this is a lot of information being thrown at you all at once, so don't be afraid to ask questions. So I still want to talk a little bit more about academics and just kind of go over what our study abroad options look like, internships, research opportunities, and I'll have Melanie and Fiona kind of talk about their experiences in those areas as well. But just to kind of start with study abroad. It's pretty popular here at Skidmore. I would say a little over half of our students do go abroad at some point within the 4 years. The most common time to go abroad definitely being your junior year. Either in the fall or spring semester. Some students will go abroad for that full junior year, and some students don't go abroad at all. It is totally up to you if that's something you'd like to pursue. We do have Skidmore specific study abroad programs, which are programs designed by our faculty at Skidmore. So we do have a Skidmore program in the south of France. We also have a Skidmore program in Auckland, New Zealand. We also have a pretty cool first year program called the London First Year Experience. I actually oversee the applications for that program if you're interested. But essentially, we send about 36 of each of our incoming first years every year off to London for their very first semester of college. They then return to this campus here in Saratoga Springs, New York, the following spring semester of that first year. Completely optional. You'll see when you're applying to Skidmore, there's an option to apply for both London and Saratoga Springs campuses. If it doesn't sound like your thing, you can just check Saratoga only for your preferred residency. But I do like to throw it out there. Um, Outside of our Skidmore specific abroad programs, we do have 118 other pre-approved affiliate abroad programs as well, where we partner with different colleges, universities, and just other study abroad programs. A really popular one in recent years has been Copenhagen. Italy's always popular as well. London, if you didn't want to do the first year in London program, we do have quite a few other pre-approved London programs as well. And finally, we have something called travel seminars, which are nice if you want a little taste of going abroad, but you don't want to commit to an entire semester. So a travel seminar is a class you take on campus in Saratoga Springs, typically the spring semester, or they're usually offered in the spring semesters. So you take your class on campus and then you only go abroad for about 2 to 3 weeks at the end of that semester with your class and professor to the place that you were studying about. So some recent ones have been in Botswana. I know we've had some in Bath in England. We had one in Ireland last year. We had one go to South Korea recently. So all over the place. So those are really, really cool options as well if you just want a little taste of studying abroad. And your financial aid also does go abroad with you, which is awesome. In terms of internship opportunities, we do have our Career Development Center, which is such a lovely office. I used them a lot personally in my junior and senior years at Skidmore. Of course, their main job is to help our current students and our alums find those internship and job opportunities, either here in Saratoga Springs, New York, and the surrounding areas. If you wanted to do something in a totally different location, or if you want to do something back at home, maybe during the summer months, they'll help you find those different opportunities to look into and apply for. They'll also, of course, help you with your resume, cover letters. They do mock interviews as well, just to make sure you feel confident and prepared for that process when the time does come. And you can start going to their office as soon as your first year if you would like to, if you want to get a jump start on that. Very strong alumni network. Our alums love talking to current Skidmore students, either in person or virtually. We do host multiple career fairs throughout the academic year where we invite alums, parents of current Skidmore students, and just other professionals to come and network with our current students. And those can lead to some wonderful opportunities. In a virtual setting, we also have an online platform called Handshake. I kind of like to say it's our version of LinkedIn, and that's a nice way to virtually connect with our alumni as well. And then finally, for academics, research. Research is offered in every single academic department that we have on campus, not just the sciences. So any student on campus can participate in research if they would like to. You can also start doing research as soon as the second semester of your first year. And kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, just about the benefits of the small class sizes and building those relationships with your professors. Research opportunities are pretty easy to come by. Again, you're not competing with graduate level students either. A lot of our students will do student faculty research, which are paid opportunities. We have quite a few students that will live on campus during the summer months as well. Those are anywhere from 5 to 10 week research programs, also paid. So lots of great opportunities in terms of research. Fiona and Melanie, do you want to talk a little bit about abroad, internships, research, what your experience has been like in those areas? Fiona, do you want to start this time?
Sure. Um, I have definitely utilized the Career Development Center. I have made
Fiona, you're frozen. I'm going to have you connect to your hotspot. Melanie, do you want to go?
Um, Fiona, I don't know if you heard, but you cut out. So if you want to connect your hot, okay. Yeah. So I've had experiences with all three things that Gabby talked about. I went abroad last semester, which was a really great experience, and I've definitely utilized the Office of Off-Campus Studies and Exchanges quite a bit in that process and figuring out what I wanted or connecting with programs that existed through our network, which was a really simple process. They helped me narrow things down just simply based off of my preferences. And then it was as simple as applying for permission. And then I was good to go. Financial aid followed me abroad, so it was at no extra cost for me. And so that was a really wonderful experience. I also, have had internships that I've been connected with through my social work faculty. So I've worked at like a health home care management program connected to a homeless shelter in the area. And I'm starting an internship hopefully this Friday, maybe next Friday. With a local school district. So I'm going to be shadowing a school social worker, which is really exciting. And I've also done research. I've talked a little bit briefly about that. I've been into psychology research labs. I did positive psychology and a developmental psychology lab. I worked for about a year on a transcription project in the religious studies department. And then I also started this summer, I worked on a collaborative faculty student summer research project with one of my social work advisors on her project about intimate partner violence. And that's continuing through the fall and will hopefully lead to a publication, which is really exciting.
Awesome. Great. Fiona, do you want to try again?
Yeah, back to what I was saying. I have utilized the Career Development Center. I've set up meetings. They have specialized advisors for different departments. So since I'm in like the science and like medical sciences, I was able to meet with a specific faculty member who has like a lot of expertise. She had put together a Google Sheet of like helpful internships in the region. And was kind of coaching me on how to utilize LinkedIn and other like alumni networks, whether that's like Handshake. So I was able to have a summer internship at Mass General, like kind of enhancing my research skills, as well as utilize the Summer Experience Fund, which is a stipend that students can get doing an internship that fulfills an hour requirement. So you can, study something cool that maybe you wouldn't have been like paid for. So it's a really awesome opportunity. And I'm also going abroad in the spring to Spain, which was a super simple process. It was already an approved program, so I can take classes for my major and work on Spanish, which I've been studying for a while.
Awesome. Yeah, and I saw a great question about London that Melanie answered, the London First Year Experience Program. So it's filled on a first come, first served basis. If you're admitted to Skidmore and you see in your application letter that you are also admitted to the London First Year Program, completely optional. If you'd rather stay on campus for that first semester of your first year, totally okay. It's just an additional option for you if that is something you'd like to pursue. Awesome. Great question. So, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk just a little bit about life outside the classroom. First, kind of just talking about clubs, organizations, and then I'll have Fiona and Melanie kind of talk about housing and what food looks like on campus as well. Um, in terms of social life, there are things happening truly all the time. You are never going to be bored here. Fun fact, we actually have more events on campus every academic year than we have physical students. So things happening all throughout the weeks, on the weekdays, and especially on the weekends. We're definitely not really the type of school where our students go home a lot on the weekends, just because you feel like you're going to be missing out on a million different things in one weekend. Important to know, we do not have Greek life here, so no fraternities or sororities. So our social life really does revolve around our clubs, organizations, and again, our events that we have on campus. At this point in time, we have about 100 different clubs and organizations. There's always new ones being created every year too, so those are always fun to see what students are coming up with in terms of new clubs. We always have a big club fair at the beginning of every fall and spring semesters, usually the first Friday of each semester. The one in the fall is really fun. I went to fall club fair all the way through my senior year. We do it on the big green that we have in front of our dining hall. All of the clubs set up tables, they throw candy at you, and you just sign up for a bunch of things to do. And it's just a really great way to meet all different types of people, especially that first semester as a first year student. If you want to join a club or organization, which is a continuation of something that you maybe did in high school, of course you can sign up for that. But maybe you want to try something new, step outside of your comfort zone a little bit. That's very, very open and actually very encouraged as well. So, Fiona and Melanie, do you both want to talk just a little bit about things you like to do for fun first, and then I'll have you kind of talk about res life and food? Melanie, yeah.
Yeah, I can go. I've been in various levels of commitment for different extracurricular things here on campus. I have been just like a very non-committal member of a couple of clubs, Random Acts of Craft Club. I like going when they do Ross paint nights, but not much else. I ran a club for a couple of years where we baked bread and we sold it to people on campus, and then we donated our profits to local food pantries to combat food insecurity in the area, which was really fruitful. And then I'm also like president of our psychology honor society here. However, a lot of my free time is spent like supporting my friends and like what they do, and so I have a lot of friends who are involved in music. Some groups that Fiona's been involved in, I like watching. I saw Fiona at the club showcase last weekend, which was really exciting, which is just kind of like a little mini introduction to like every performing arts based club on campus, which is a really fun time. Helps our first year students kind of understand maybe what they want to get involved with. And then it also just helps everyone else on campus feel a little alive the first weekend back on campus, which is really exciting for me. So I just genuinely enjoy seeing what other people are up to on campus. And as Gabby said, there's a lot going on all the time. So there's really never a dull moment here on this campus, and definitely a lot of things to do on the weekend.
Yeah, totally. I've loved being in a part of the a cappella group, as I mentioned. I've been in the Skidmore Orchestra, which is, I think, one of our largest like musical groups. It's around like 50 to 60 students, audition based, but of course, any student can audition, no matter if you're like a major or minor or whatever. I am really part of the outdoors community, so I love hiking in the area. That's a big thing I do on weekends, as well as enjoying like our running trails in town or at the state park, which are all super accessible. Not to mention our North Woods, which are about 3 miles of trails just on the north of our campus. I just love the community that you find in clubs. I've met a lot of my best friends, like the people I live with right now, I met from our yoga club. So we went like once a week. And again, like being such a non-committal member of this club, just enjoying it. And you just make so many connections and probably find out things that you like that you never knew you liked before. So lots of options there.
Awesome. Yeah, and I see a question in the Q&A really quick, just about club and intramural sports. I can also just do a quick thing on our athletics as well. So quick overview of athletics, generally speaking. For varsity teams, we are Division 3. So I like to kind of say we're the epitome of the student athlete. So academics are our top priority, then athletics. You work really closely with your coaches and your academic advisors just to make sure academics are the #1 priority. We have 19 varsity teams total. We do have our Williamson Sports Center on campus with our cardio room, pool. That's where our big like gym is located. Wackenheim Field is right next door to the sports center. And then we have a new addition actually as well, kind of connected onto our existing sports center, which is called the McCaffrey Wagman Health and Wellness Center. So within that new space, we have brand new indoor-outdoor tennis courts, which are stunning. Also brand new cardio space, weight room. That's also where we have our peer health education. So that's been a really great new addition for us as well. And all of those athletic spaces are open for all students, not just varsity athletes. In terms of club and intramural levels, we have lots of different options if you want to continue with the sport in college, just not at the varsity level. And you can kind of sign up for those during club fair, which is great. So let me just make sure we don't have any other questions. Okay, we will come back to that. Fiona and Melanie, do you want to do a quick overview of just residential life and dining on campus? Maybe Melanie, do you want to do res life? Fiona, do you want to do food? Cool.
So to start with residential life on campus, first of all, you're guaranteed housing all 4 years that you're here. It's really important that you know that. And about 90%, usually a little bit more than 90% of our students will choose to stay on campus all 4 years that they're here. Um, your first year, you're given a housing questionnaire to fill out about your habits, what you expect out of a roommate, and the Office of Residential Life will try to put you with students that they believe will be compatible with your living habits. With that, it's important to note that usually our first year students are put in triples, some of them are put in doubles. It's kind of just luck of the draw on compatibility. Um, I can talk about my experience. I lived in a triple my first year and I had a good experience. I'm still friends with both of my first year roommates and I've had the experience of living with them each again. I lived with one of them in a double my sophomore year and then this year again with a different one in my apartment. So for our upperclassmen, there's on-campus apartments that house 3 to 5 students. They're all single bedrooms and then there's 2 bathrooms. They have full kitchens. For our residential dorms, right? Those buildings, there's a lot of them. That's for your first and second year, like standard. If you're going to stay on campus, then you're mandated to be in a residential hall. Then you have the choice of moving into an apartment your junior and senior year, your third and fourth year. Um, After your first year, you do not need to live in a triple. In fact, it's really difficult to ask to stay in a triple. They don't want to do that. They want you to have the opportunity to live in a single or a double. There's no designated first year housing building either. So everyone's kind of intermingled, which helps with socialization. Your next door neighbors are probably going to be sophomores, which kind of helps you, if you need directions of where to go or advice about, who to go see for something, you can knock on your neighbor's door. There's that. Every floor of a residential building has an RA, a residential assistant, and their job is to make sure that your living experience is comfortable. So they'll make sure to mediate any roommate conflict if that ever arises, meet any facilities needs that you have. But they also try to make community events on a monthly basis to make sure that you feel at home where you're living. So my RAs have done like painting nights, movie nights. We had like a spa night, so she brought in like cookies and like we had face masks and tea, and it was really cute. So things like that that make your living experience more homey. We also have special interest housing communities that you can apply for when you apply for housing. So we have as a baseline, all of our housing is substance free, right? But we also have substance free living communities. Those students who decide to live in those communities are pledging to live a substance-free lifestyle, both inside and outside of the residence halls. So it's just that added commitment. Maybe you're committing to a life of sobriety and you want to make sure that your roommate is also sober, things like that. We also have our PRISM floor, which is peers representing intersecting identities and sexualities meaningfully. It's like our LGBTQ floor. We have a 24-hour quiet floor. Which is nice. We have an honors forum floor. We have a multicultural floor that a lot of our international students like to live on. And we also have an all women's floor because it's important to note that usually our housing is co-ed, the floors are co-ed. So if you don't want that, you can apply for all women's housing as well. But I think I've said enough about the residential experience. If you have other questions about that, feel free to put them in the Q&A and I'll type some answers, but I'll let Fiona talk about the food experience here.
Awesome. Well, the food at Skidmore is fantastic. We have one dining hall on campus. If you're living in one of those residential halls as like a first year or second year student, you will get an unlimited meal plan, which means you can swipe in at whenever they're open, like as many times as you want, which is fantastic. You know, breakfast, snack between classes, lunch, dinner. There are many different stations. We have a global station, a vegetarian and vegan station, pizza, diner, list goes on. We also have like a soft serve machine, just lots of different like variety. I am vegetarian, so I have utilized that, and there's lots of options for me. It's also fun to like mix and match different stations, like rice from one or cauliflower somewhere else, just for an example. But very yummy, very good food. And if you are doing work study as a first year student, that will be your job is working in our dining hall. But the dining hall is not the only place on campus to get food. We also have the spa, which is like our grill, and we have Burgess Cafe, which is a little cafe, as well as like an atrium. So those are places that are not on your unlimited meal plan. However, you can upload bucks, skid bucks to your ID, and then you pay for it in like dollars. So they are like equivocated to US dollars. And then as an upperclassman, if you're living off campus or in an apartment, you can opt for a plan that involves like just those places to eat as opposed to the dining hall. So lots of different options. You'll never get bored, truly. The menu has different food every day, every meal. Fantastic. A great place to also meet all your friends because there is one dining hall.
Awesome. Those were great overviews. Thank you both so much. And yeah, I still go to the dining hall as well sometimes. Chicken Finger Friday is truly the best day of the week. Awesome. So now I kind of want to talk just a little bit about where we're located, Saratoga Springs, New York. As I mentioned, we're located in upstate New York. So geographically speaking, we're about 30 minutes north of Albany, the state capital. And we're about 3 hours outside of New York City, Boston, and Montreal. So we're a pretty centrally located city. And the downtown area of Saratoga Springs is very close to our campus. It's maybe like a 10-15 minute walk, and it's a straight shot right to the downtown area for students, which is awesome. But in downtown, so many really good restaurants. I feel like there's always new restaurants opening up every single year. Really great coffee shops. Uncommon Grounds is a really popular coffee shop in the downtown area. Our students love to hang out there, do work, study. Really cute stores, boutiques. There's a movie theater with discounted tickets for our students. We also have Congress Park, which is beautiful. So we're not in the middle of nowhere. There's things going on off campus, which I think our students really like to take advantage of. Saratoga Springs itself is also a very historic town. We are home to the longest running thoroughbred racetrack in the country, in the United States. So we're a big tourist destination, especially during our racing season. So racing season for us is 6 weeks every summer here, usually starting mid-July and going through Labor Day weekend. So we're recently done with our racing season for this year. Our general population year round in Saratoga is around 30,000. We can get up to well over 120,000 people in town just for those 6 weeks during our racing season, tourist season. So we get really busy, but it is a lot of fun. Again, I mentioned I'm from Saratoga. It's so lively during that time of the year. Lots of things going on between the racetrack. We also do have the Saratoga Performing Arts Center, or SPAC, as we call it here. That's like a big outdoor amphitheater venue that we have in our state park, which is like a 10-minute drive from campus. And there are concerts all throughout the summer as well. So the Jonas Brothers were just here, I think like last week, I want to say. Dave Matthews Band comes every summer, Zach Brown Band. We also have residencies from the New York City Ballet as well as the Philadelphia Orchestra every summer as well. So that's also happening. Our students like to be here during the summers. I always try to tell current students, if you can, try to do at least one summer in Saratoga. Do it just because we have the race track going on, the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. There's just a lot of things happening, and it's fun to be here during that time of the year. I will say though, what's really nice about Saratoga during the academic year for our students is you kind of get the tourist town of Saratoga Springs, but without all of the tourists, again, during the academic year, because everything in the downtown area stays open. So all of the restaurants, shops, everything is open. The only thing that really shuts down is the racetrack and the Saratoga Performing Arts Center after September. So yeah, everything is open pretty much throughout the year, and our students definitely take advantage. Um, Students can have a car all 4 years if they would like to. We also do have our city bus system, which runs about every 30 minutes from our student center in the middle of campus, and that is free with your Skidmore ID. So really easy to get around town. We also do have a bike share program as well that students will use, but again, also very, very walkable. Fiona and Melanie, do you want to maybe say your favorite spot in Saratoga?
It's hard to like choose.
I
Uh,
know. You can say a few if
there's
you'd like.
Yeah, there's a lot of good food. So like there's a lot of restaurants I like. I like Cantina. That's like a Mexican restaurant. In that same vein, I like Taquero. It's like a tacos and donuts place, which is kind of a weird combo, but it's really good and affordable. Um, yeah, there's so much. I really want to try Sarah's Kitchen. That's like Middle Eastern food. And I've just been meaning to try it since it's opened. So that's like a goal in the near future. I like sitting in Congress Park. There's a lot of like animals that are kind of cute to like observe. But I've also gone to Spa State Park, which is like 2 miles from campus, and that's really wonderful to go on like a nice nature walk. Um, Even in the winter, it's really beautiful because all the trees are covered in snow. And I'm not much of a hiker. I'm kind of the opposite of Fiona in that way. So I do very laid back nature walks while Fiona does some intense stuff.
Um, my favorite place downtown is like hands down Saratoga tea and honey. I love tea. I'm like a really big fan of like matchas, chais, like anything. And they have a tea bar so you can like order whatever kind you want, and they have so many different kinds, and they also have honey tasting in the back. So, it's great.
So fun. I do see a great question in the chat as well. If you both want to answer this, do you want to just share your favorite tradition at Skidmore? Melanie,
Yeah.
do you want to start? Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love Skidmania. I love all things music. Skidmania is essentially where students and some faculty will perform music from 50 years ago. So this November, we will have performances of music from 1975. It's really exciting, really fun. You get to see a lot of your peers performing some really great music. So that's probably like by far my favorite thing that happens on campus all year.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely like one of the best traditions. Mine is definitely going to be also a music performance, which is our big show. I love music, I love dancing, and we, our student, I forget the acronym, like event committee, I guess, will invite a famous artist and they'll come and perform on campus. Last fall, we had Natasha Bedingfield. I honestly don't know who came before me, but it's always great people. It's always a fun event, large turnout of students, and just like a great way to like hang out.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, and I'm seeing some great questions in the chat. So, Melanie and Fiona, if you want to start typing away on some of those, that'd be amazing. And while you're both doing that, I'm just going to do my quick admission financial aid spiel for all of you while you get some of your questions answered. And if you have any questions on any of this as well, please let me know. So at Skidmore, we have 2 rounds of early decision and 1 round of regular decision. We do not have early action as an option here at Skidmore. So early decision 1, those applications are due November 1st. And then early decision 2 and regular decision applications, both of those are due on January 8th. And I do want to make just a quick note on early decision 1 and 2. If you do choose to apply to Skidmore or any institution through early decision and you are admitted to that institution, the expectation is that you would attend that institution in the fall. It's basically a binding agreement. You're telling that school that this is 110% where I want to be. If you're not 110% sure, regular decision might be the way to go. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind as you're thinking about it. In terms of what we look for at Skidmore, we take a very holistic approach when reviewing our applications, meaning we're looking at the whole picture of your application. Every piece is just as important as the next. So we will be taking a look at your high school transcript. So just looking at the classes that you chose to take that are offered at your high school, as well as how you performed in those classes throughout the past 4 years as well. I will say my favorite piece when reading applications is your personal essay, just because that's where you really come through in your application. That's where I really get to learn a little bit more about you, who you are, what's important to you. If you had an experience in your life that you want to share, that could be a great place to do so. So I really, really enjoy reading those essays. And at Skidmore, we do not have any supplemental essays, which is a nice plus. In terms of recommendation letters, usually we'll see 1 from your school counselor and then 2 from 2 core teachers that you've had in high school that you've had a nice relationship with. We do recognize that at some high schools, you might not have a great relationship with your counselor because their caseload is really big. It's also totally okay if you just want to submit those 2 teacher recommendations as well. In terms of testing, we are test optional, so you do not have to submit your SAT or ACT scores if you do not want to. That is totally your call. If I see that you did not submit your testing, I'm not going to think twice about it. I'm not going to assume anything either. It's just not part of your application at that point. Our average SAT is usually between a 1350 and a 1450. Average ACT is usually around a 30. But again, that is totally up to you. This is new starting this application cycle. It's free to apply to Skidmore. Yes. So that's been a really, really exciting thing for us. So totally free to apply, which is amazing. In terms of financial aid, we meet 100% of your demonstrated need every single year that you would be at Skidmore. So we are primarily a need-based aid institution. So to determine your grant package from Skidmore, if you are planning on applying for financial aid, we just require the CSS profile. CSS profile. Super, super important. Again, that is what we use to determine your Skidmore grant. For my international students that I have on this evening, you can either submit the CSS profile or we have something called the ISFA, the International Student Financial Aid Application. You'll find that in your applicant portal once you've already applied. So you have the choice if you would like to submit the CSS profile or the ISFA. That is totally up to you. You can also apply for the FAFSA if you also want to be considered for federal aid as well. Our financial aid team is also so lovely. They're always happy to chat over the phone or over email if you have any additional questions. We do have 2 merit scholarships that students can apply for on their own. One is called the Feline Scholarship for classical musicians. The other is the Porter Wackenheim Scholarship for students that are strong in the sciences or the STEM areas. Both of those scholarships are $20,000 a year, $80,000 for the 4 years. And those are open for everyone to apply, both domestic students as well as international students. And you don't have to plan on majoring or minoring in music or the sciences to apply or be considered for those scholarships. How are we doing, everyone? Okay, awesome. any other questions? Please feel free to put those in the Q&A. Carter, I'm going to send you some links of our current club and intramurals that we have. Just give me 1 second. Alrighty. Really great question that just came through. Could submitting an art portfolio negatively affect my application? Short answer is no. So if you do choose to submit an art portfolio, whether it be studio art, music, dance, or theater, that is not going to be our determining factor on your application. We basically just see that as an extra boost. The department will take a look at that portfolio and give us any notes if they have them. So it's not going to negatively affect your application in any way. It's just kind of an extra thing that you can add if you would like to. And you can submit that through your applicant portal once you apply. That's a great question. I'm gonna give it maybe another minute or so, just in case anyone is typing out a question. In the meantime, myself, Melanie, and Fiona, we can put our contact information in the chat for you all if you'd like to keep in touch with any of us. Okay, great questions. What qualities or experiences does Skidmore value in applicants? That is a great question. So, I mean, in terms of qualities that we look for, it can be so many things. I mean, our students, again, like I've mentioned, are very well-rounded. They might have a lot of different interests, again, totally not uncommon to see students that are interested in the arts and the sciences and humanities and social sciences. So maybe you have a lot of different interests. This can be a great place for you to explore those. Our motto is creative thought matters. So students that aren't afraid to think creatively, not afraid to think outside the box, and just making sure that you'd be a good community member here at Skidmore. I think those are a couple things that we'll be looking at. That's a great question, Kaylee. Yeah, so again, if you could choose 3 characteristics of Skidmore students that align with the college, what would they be? I would say creative, kind, and passionate. Another great question. Yes, Archer, that is a great question as well. You may add another recommendation letter if you would like to. Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you all so much. You had wonderful questions. I really, really appreciate you asking these questions and making sure you get those questions answered. Again, myself, Melanie, and Fiona, we put our emails in the chat if you'd like to keep in touch with us or if any other questions come up throughout the process, please keep in touch. And yes, if you would like to visit campus or sign up for any other virtual offerings, those are all on our website. If you want to come visit us either in person or again virtually, please do. But again, thank you all. Ask those questions if you have them, and I hope you have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Thanks, everyone.